be late to choir tonight. So hopefully I'll finish my part before then.
Okay, we'll do our best, Allison.
I assume John will be here because he's sent me some updated notes.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's coming.
And I believe that a quorum for us tonight is 4 people. Do you have a different belief?
Let's see, are we 7? Yes, we are. You are 7, so you're correct, Emily. 4 people.
Okay.
There's Precious.
We're just waiting for one more person. I know Tara is coming.
There she is.
I will rename.
Oh, thanks.
We're all Carrick.
Yeah.
Must be using that link. It just ports over.
Okay, well, thank you for sending a link that worked. I got in as a panelist, though. Thank you,
Yeah,
Carrick.
that was great. First time. Thank you.
Good deal. Mm-hmm.
Good. I'm sorry that I missed the email from Carrick that would have gotten us in. Because we have, I'm going to ask you to do something then, Carrick, please. If it's possible for you, because that link works directly, did you send it to everybody, including Gina?
I sent it to the whole, yes, I did.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you, I appreciate that. So because we have a very packed agenda with everybody, yeah, and I'd appreciate it if people could mute until we're actually asking you to say something, since we're really tight on time. And Precious needs to leave by 6 o'clock. So because of that, we are going to be dealing first with things that might involve Precious. And regardless of how little time we have, there are still things that we have got to cover tonight. So the first thing is, my name is Emily Simon. This is a meeting of the Social Equity and Racial Justice Advisory Committee for the City of Ashland. The date is May 9th, 2024. It's 5:03, and we are beginning our monthly business meeting. Present are Allison Mendel, Precious Yamaguchi, Tara Houston, and myself, which makes 4 people, which constitutes a quorum. So now that we have been called to order, the first thing is the land acknowledgement, which is on your agenda in the first 2 paragraphs. I will introduce our 2 staff people. We have Ann Seltzer, and we also have our person who will be replacing Ann, whose name is, well, many of you were named, whose name is Carrick Gooden. So, Carrick, it's nice for all of us to be meeting you, and I know we'll have an opportunity for you to do a fuller introduction of yourself and your background at another time. Okay? Great. So in terms of the land acknowledgement, I would ask that Precious read the land acknowledgement if she has it right in front of her. If she doesn't, then we'll move on to somebody who does.
Okay, yes, hello everybody. I have it in front of me. We acknowledge and honor the Aboriginal people on whose ancestral homelands we work, the Irukutsin Band of the Shasta Nation, as well as the diverse and vibrant Native communities who make their home here today. We denounce the egregious acts of the colonizers and the government and recognize the horrific impacts that still exist today. We honor the first stewards in the Rogue Valley and the lands we love and depend on, tribes with ancestral lands in and surrounding the geography of the Ashland watershed, include the original past, present, and future indigenous inhabitants of the Shasta, Tacoma, and Athabascan people. We also recognize and acknowledge the Shasta village of Kawaka, where the Crow Lights, that is now the Ashland City Plaza.
Thank you. And Allison, do you have the labor acknowledgement in front of you? Please unmute and read it.
Yeah, that would help. We also pause to recognize and acknowledge the labor upon which our country, state, and institutions are built. We remember that our country is built on the labor of enslaved people who were kidnapped and brought to the U.S. from the African continent. and recognize the continued contribution of their survivors. We also acknowledge all immigrant labor, including voluntary, involuntary, trafficked, forced, and undocumented peoples who contributed to the building of the country and continue to serve within our labor force. We acknowledge all unpaid caregiving labor. To the people who contributed this immeasurable work and their descendants, we acknowledge their indelible mark on the space in which we gather today. It is our collective responsibility to critically examine these histories, to repair harm, and to honor, protect, and sustain their contribution to our society.
Thank you. Is there somebody here who was at the meeting of March 7th, 2024, in terms of the approval of minutes? Allison was, I was, Precious was, and Tara was. Good. We can do somebody want to make a motion to approve the minutes, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Then I'll second.
Perfect. All in favor, say aye.
No,
Aye.
wait. The discussion part. The minutes and
Thank you, Allison.
The minutes and also the agenda, I have a concern because it keeps saying that John and I said we'd get free speech pamphlets and all of that. I don't think free speech was what we said. I think we were talking about hate speech, and we were looking for ways of informing people where they could go and how to complain about hate speech. So that is what I did, not the free speech. So I think those need to be correct.
So
thank you.
So Allison, I'm going to change free speech to hate speech. Is that correct?
I think that's, yeah, everywhere it shows up. I think that'll be fine.
Thank you for that.
Thank you very much, Allison. I believe that that's absolutely correct. Thank you. Good. With that amendment, and thank you for stopping me, Allison. Okay. With that amendment, okay, does everybody agree to the minutes as corrected by Allison?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. Is there any public input?
I did not receive anything.
Okay. And the announcement about the June meeting, I will make this announcement. Anya will be coming, Anya and IMUs will be coming to the June meeting so that she can make the presentation that she was going to make for the April meeting. So I will be meeting with Anya at some point prior to the June meeting after today. And I would ask that if anybody has any particular questions, in addition to the ones that we received before from the listening circles people, okay? If anybody has any other questions that they would like for Anya to address, is please get them to Anne so that Anne can get them to me so that we can make sure that we're asking Anya to address those issues, okay? Great, that's it. Now, I knew we'd be clicking through some of this. The DEI assessment overview. What I'd like to do, because we have been tasked by the City Council to have a robust discussion about the DEI assessment that was done for the City of Ashland. So for the benefit of Allison and Tara, and also Kerrick to some degree, who were not here from the beginning, just let me sort of frame this and explain it. In December of 2022, we made a request. Actually, it was before December. Our initial request was made in August of 2022 in response to the creation of the committee for, there was the question as to what we were going to be doing with ourselves, to put it bluntly, okay? And one of the things that we asked for was that the City of Ashland hire a DEI manager, okay? And that was for the City of Ashland internally, that they have a DEI manager to address DEI issues. The city manager at the time came back with the comment and the suggestion that it would be very hard to have a DEI manager if there was not a review that had been done by an outside consultant regarding the state of DEI in the city of Ashland, okay, for the purposes of determining what was needed by the city of Ashland in order to address DEI concerns. John, just to bring you up to speed, what I'm doing is I'm talking about the DEI assessment and how we got to where we are now. Okay? I'm giving the history. Great. So that is what the city of Ashland was looking at in their DEI assessment, which was discussed by the city council in a study session on April the 1st, 2024. Now, prior to that, okay, they had hired a consultant, the name is Paradigm Consulting. And Paradigm Consulting, it was a competitive bid. They had submitted a bid. They got the contract and they did the DEI assessment. I have personally read, I believe that Anne has personally read, the entire DEI assessment as well as their proposal, okay? And I have also listened to the entire city council meeting at the study session where the information was presented. Precious and Anne were both personally present at that city council study session. So I hear somebody ask, what were the findings from the DEI assessment? And I'm going to make this as short as I can, based upon the fact that there are a number of pages that went with this. Essentially, what the consultants found, and they made 25 specific recommendations. And if anybody is interested in actually seeing the recommendations or seeing what was said, it's all on the website and it's all posted, okay? And the 25 specific recommendations that they made really focus on what I consider to be a culture of DEIA as part of organizational culture. And the people, the group of peoples who the consultants found expressed the most concern about equity, inclusivity, and accessibility, which I change into access, that's me, okay, were women and individuals on the either what is considered by the world often to be the gender minority scale, okay, or the sexual minority scale. Those were the two groups of individuals that were identified by the consultants based upon focus groups, based upon information, who felt that they had had either the most microaggressions, which, as you know, I think is a very bad term, okay? Microaggressions or actual harassment. There was another group of employees who felt that women were favored. And it seemed to be left that way in terms of the data supporting that there were women who believed, including from their immediate supervisors, that they were not getting the kind of opportunities that men would get. Okay, I have to say that when I read this entire report, there was not hard data that was tied to that. So there was not individual X did not get promotion Y when there was another equally qualified individual. So in that way, I would say that it was mostly, and this is my take, okay, it was mostly very much a feelings type of analysis that was done. It wasn't certainly would not have been a lawsuit ready for anybody kind of analysis. And I just want to lay that out because I think it's important. I'm not saying it should have been. I'm just laying out what it is. So essentially what happened, and Precious, I'm getting to your point for just a minute, okay, is what Precious raises, and Emily feels this way also, is that an opportunity was missed during this session, during this assessment regarding religion, in that neither Islamophobia nor Judaism nor anti-Semitism was raised as things that people were even identified as a potential problem. Now, the consultants handled that question during the questioning. It was actually by Mayor Graham, by responding that they devised their categories of what constitutes DEI, what constitutes impacted groups by the focus groups that they had, and nobody raised the issue of religion. So that was their answer to the concern that had been raised. Okay. So the next question should be, what did the city of Ashland say they were going to do for this information? And I figured I would just lay all of this out and then try and take questions as best I could. So the city of Ashland has a goal, what I would call a goal of changing the organizational culture so that DEIA is part of the organizational culture. What does this mean in reality? What this means is that I think in terms of understanding the history here, and I'm sure that Anne can help with this if I need it, is at the time in which this survey was being done, this assessment was being done, there was no HR department, essentially. They didn't have an HR manager. So there wasn't a natural container at the time for people to be doing DEIA work. There is now an HR director. Her name is Molly. When we first started as a committee, there was an HR director, and her name was Tina Gray, and she was great. And she came and she gave us a whole bunch of answers to questions that we had. In fact, as I remember, Anne, she wrote them out, and we attached them as an agenda item. So what is falling now into Molly's lap essentially is to bring Ashland, as Emily would call this, into the 21st century. And amongst the plans are anti-harassment policies, annual trainings for all staff, supervisor trainings, implicit bias trainings, as I said, focusing on DEIA as part of organizational culture, annual performance reviews citywide, more than annual check-ins where there's been a problem, and then microaggression training and succession planning. The other thing that is being done, and I can't tell you right now sort of where the city of Ashland is on these goals, because it's new, it's brand new. But I can tell you that and I believe this firmly is being done, that the goal in searching for new employees is now to cast the net as wide as possible, meaning to do things that will increase, one would hope, more diverse applicants to the city of Ashland. And the manner in which they're doing that is by either participating more in college or junior college or even high school job fairs, sending out more recruitments for the city of Ashland, which focus on that in terms of saying we have a DEI culture here, and we are looking for people who have either degrees or experience that would be a substitute instead of just only looking for the people who have high degrees. And it's also blind applications so that you don't know, nor are you asked about your individual backgrounds in a way that would flag you in terms of being a person of color. I know that there will be some people who say, well, then how else do we hire more persons of color unless we know that they're persons of color? And the answer to that is, again, by casting as wide net as possible. I also know, and I think this is very important, that rather than, because it's illegal actually, to go out and say we want to hire only Black people for this position so we can increase our numbers, is that there will be more attention that will be paid through microaggression training and managing implicit bias, that there would be the opportunity to retain persons of color as employees, which is really the issue, is how do you retain your persons of color in the organization? I find it really interesting that in the big picture, when you sort of step back and you look at this big picture, is that within the granular, within the immediate working groups and the immediate supervisors, is most employees in the city of Ashland felt really pretty good about those people. Okay. It was the higher ups. So it seemed the further away from the person and their immediate supervisor or their coworkers that the problems developed with the higher ups in terms of a lack of trust. And that included the city officials. That included the electeds. So I'm just trying to give you the sense of this. Yes, women did complain about their coworkers, as did people of, on what I call, what people the outside world perceives as not heteronormative. Okay? People did complain about that, but the manner of those complaints, I'm just not sure either the severity of them or what they were, partially because there was a very large desire to keep people who spoke to the individuals, who spoke to the evaluators, the people who shared, anonymous. Okay. And to make things as broad as they could, which I really appreciate. It's a very, very small city. So that gives you the sense. This is what I think we need to do. And then I really think if this is all we talk about tonight, then this is all we talk about tonight. And I don't think it needs to be, but I just want to lay that out. Is what I think we should do is I think that we should say that we've received the report, we've reviewed the report, we're passing it back to the city council, because really it's them. Okay? And we're passing it back to the city council with the following recommendations and requests. We recommend that they do a check-in with the city in 6 months. And Sabrina Cotta, who was the interim city manager, she said, oh, we'll be back to address you. But I'd like to have that formalized, that they do a check-in within 6 months to see how it's going in terms of which of the specifics that they were going to do. And I listed them all for you, the microaggression training, the annual reviews, the anti-harassment policies, which of those have actually been put into place and which haven't, and if not, why not? That we ask the city in terms of, since they're doing trainings anyway for people, is could they include in those trainings either include religion as part of those trainings, do a training on Islamophobia, and do a training on anti-Semitism, since they're doing trainings anyway. Okay. And as a third thing, that what we do, so we know what's happening, because this is part of our charge, is that we invite the new HR director, Molly, to come talk to us in October about how it's going, what they're doing, is there anything we can do to help, and that we get the information directly from Molly as to what they're doing. It was very helpful when we did that with Tina.
Tina.
Yeah. Gina, can you hear us now?
Wait, oh my goodness. Yes, I can, but I can't see anybody.
We see you.
Oh, well, that's good. Okay. Well, that's okay. I don't know why I can't see anybody.
All right, well, just let me talk for a minute, Gina, because we're really on a tight time frame.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Gina, you just missed me talking about the City of Ashland's DEI assessment.
Okay, go on. All right. Okay, I'm sorry. So
Okay,
you guys just
I just laid out what was in the 115-page report that I read, and the proposal that I read, and the study session that I watched every minute of. So I just laid all of that out, and the proposal, what I just made, I'm just coming to the end of it, was that we pass it back to the city council, and that we ask for the city council to review all of the steps that the city of Ashland said they were going to do. And I know they said that Sabrina said that she would be back to report, but we would like a specific date when that report is going to be given and the city council is following up. That's the first thing. Second thing is that because religion was not included at all in the focus groups or in the survey itself, and because it says that there will be training as part of that, is to add in, including implicit bias training, is to add in a part of that training for Islamophobia and anti-Semitism. And then the third thing we said that we wanted to do was to have our own check-in with Molly, the human relations person, the HR person, in October, and invite her to a meeting. And that other than that, we say, because it's true, we've read it, we've absorbed it, this is what we think should happen. It's one of the things in the SERJ work plan is that we do that, and then that way we will have accomplished one of our tasks for that. Now, I know this might seem to the members of my committee, I know this might seem difficult because you haven't read it. And if there's somebody who says, listen, I really want to read this, I feel strongly about this, and I really want to read it, and it's all on the web, and I know you sent it to us, but honestly, it was overwhelming. And if somebody says that and you need or want more time, I will do that. But if somebody doesn't really say that to me, I'd like to get this back on the city council's desk. It's about the city of Ashland as a city government. It's not about the community of Ashland, which is a whole nother issue. And it's one of the things that when this committee was begun, and I know from having been there from the beginning and having helped write this ordinance, is that the objective was to help the city of Ashland as a city committee. And then I can say, we've done this and feel good about myself. So whether you care about how I feel or not, I don't care. But I'm just saying that this is where I am now at with this, and there is nothing further that I can do in terms of this report. So does anybody want to have discussion about this? Questions, comments, criticisms, kudos, any aspect? Allison.
I agree with you completely. I have not read it. I will read it, but I don't see any reason why that should hold up sending it back to the city council. I think your approach is the correct one.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Emily, I'm sorry. I had just a question about waiting until October to talk to the new HR director. And maybe that's only because I have never talked to the HR director, but would there be any benefit to us meeting with her before then?
I don't think so, John, because
okay.
I'm going to tell you why for the answer to that. Is this report just came out in April. Okay, she's got a whole bunch on her plate. May, June, July, August, September, October is 6 months. Okay,
Right.
So it might be really pretty close to when city council is asking her to come back, or the dates. I don't know anything that's going on with the city council calendar, but I do know that with what are there, Ann? I don't remember how many employees. 130,
40, something like that.
Okay, so 241, I think it is actually. With 241 employees and with a new sort of setup, it's going to take her a while to get her feet wet and to really sort of understand. And I think I would rather give her the time that she needs to do that and have more data-driven answers than just aspirational answers. Because right now, all of this is aspirational.
Right.
This is what we're going to do. So I'd much rather we spend our time with, okay, what has happened, rather than a tell me more what you're going to do. That's what I'd like.
Okay.
So, Emily, at
Yes.
this point, you need a motion to move the 3 recommendations that you noted forward to the city council.
Yes, I'm just making sure there's no more discussion first, Dan. And then I'm going to make the motion. Okay. Is there any more discussion? Okay. I therefore move that we return this to the city council, saying that we have read it, discussed it, and that the 3 things we are requesting are, actually, there's only 2 things we're requesting, because we are going to request Molly come and speak to us directly. But I can include it in the motion, and so it's all together.
I think you should.
Great. So the 3 things that we are requesting are, number 1, that the city council, in terms of accountability, ask for a report and an invitation to both the city manager or the interim city manager and the HR director regarding implementation of the project. Okay. Whoever the appropriate person would be. Okay. That they include a unit in their implicit bias training, anti-harassment trainings, and other trainings on Islamophobia and anti-Semitism. And that we have the HR director come and speak to us at SERJ about things that have been accomplished in October. Okay. You good, Ann?
That's quite a motion.
What?
I'll second it.
The only thing I would suggest is that rather than calling out Islamophobia and anti-Semitism, to change that to religious tolerance or
Great.
religious something.
Great.
Okay.
Friendly amendment noted and done.
Okay. So
Okay.
Simon Mendel, motion second. Okay.
All right. All in favor, raise your hands. Thank you. Motion passes unanimously. Great. Okay, Precious, we're going to your items first that involve you because you have to leave at 6 o'clock.
Okay, thank you. Hello, everybody. Nice to see you.
Social gathering update.
Yes, the first thing I'm going to talk about is a social gathering update. And this is a small event for us to be able to just chat and talk to each other. It's going to be held at the Southern Oregon University Hawk Dining Center. And just a show of hands, has anyone been there before? Okay, good. Some of you, good. Okay, so I'll be hosting this small event. We'll be in the conference room, and this is also one of the ways in which I'm hoping that we could bridge our greater community with SOU and have that comfort of being able to go into the Hawk at any time. It's open to everybody, and you'll be my guest, so don't pay for anything. I'll be hosting you that day. So when you come in, there's a cash register and an attendant. Let them know that you're here for the City of Ashland Social Equity Racial Justice Committee, and they know about you. And then you'll be turning left. There's a conference room, and that's where we'll be. But the setup is like a buffet setup. So whatever dietary restrictions any of you have, you can get your food accordingly. I see that many of you have been there already, so you know it's a food court type of buffet setup, so you could eat as much as you want. You're not supposed to bring Tupperware though, but you know, everyone sneaks a cookie or a banana pack, but there's a certain type of Tupperware that you're supposed to have if you are taking things home, and that's like on a student plan. So feel free to eat and drink as much as you like, and I'm excited to see you. That will be on Wednesday, May 15th, 5:30 p.m. So I'll see you there.
Is there anybody right now who, even though we did a doodle poll and everybody said they could go, is there anybody right now who is on this Zoom room who knows that they can't go? Notice I'm saying cannot, because I'm anticipating that everybody can. Precious, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, you're up with your announcement, Precious.
Okay, thank you. And I have been on this committee since it was 2021 and have completed my 3 years. And it's been a wonderful 3 years with a lot of learning and opportunities. I came onto this committee with the hopes of finding ways in which we can diversify Ashland and business ownership and the retention of business ownership and business owners and SOU of people of all different identities finding a place here. Through this committee, there's been so many great opportunities to work with people on the Katie Commission in Medford with BASE, getting to get to know the different organizations within Ashland, such as Ashland School District, and of course, like SOU, and the different people on our committee, OSF, and all of you. And so I feel that through the 3 years, it's been an amazing experience. I've been very fortunate to be promoted in my position at Southern Oregon University as a chair of the communication program, which is film, media innovation, and communication studies. It's a very new position for me, so I have to make space and time for that. My term here ended in April, and I will be on our committee for an extra two-ish months, May and June, and the meetings. And I'm very proud of all the work that we've done. And also I feel that this is an opportunity to make space for new leadership. So in thinking about co-chairing or chairing as I leave this position. So thank you, everybody.
Precious, we are so sad that you are leaving, but
we are very sad.
But what we will do, Precious, is that we will do something. I don't quite know what it's going to be, but it's going to be a little bit more appropriate than just saying we're sad to you over Zoom. when we see you at the social meeting. Okay, Gina.
Good. You know, it's weird that you can see me and all I can see is a big screen that says Zoom. So it's like, okay, my hand's up. I don't know. So thank you, Emily. Precious, thank you for your time and being of service and stepping up and hanging in there from the beginning. I think that everything that you have brought to SERJ has been well appreciated. And I agree with Emily, a little bit more than, sad to see you go. But something that you touched on is that when there comes a time on every committee where we vote for new chairs, new leadership, things like that. And I was thinking that what we might want to do is look at the next meeting. Everyone can think about this now, just putting the suggestion out there is that you can nominate someone else, you can nominate yourself. I don't know if Precious has the time to speak to anybody who might be thinking about stepping up. And if not, Precious, we can always tag team, and I would be more than happy to talk about what that looks like. I feel like there's so much potential on this committee, and I can't see everybody who's here today, but there's so much potential on this committee. So think about stepping up, think about nominating someone, and let's look at the leadership and let's look at where you want to go, because it's social equity and racial justice. Let's think about the social equity part of it too, so that this committee is well-rounded in everything that you do. So feel free to reach out to me and nominate yourself, nominate someone else, and let's go to the next level. So I just wanted to put that out there, and thank you, Precious, so much.
Thank you. I want to thank Anne and Emily and Gina for all the mentoring through this position. It was my first time being on the City of Ashland committee, advisory committee, so very new to me. And I think that you all have been great resources, and it's a learning curve, but I think that it's very, very, very special to be able to be on this committee, and I would love to see it to move forward and transform throughout time.
Precious, thank you so much. And because you have to leave at 6 o'clock, I know that there are other announcements that we have to make tonight. But I think your other thing, and then if you can stay till the stroke of 6, I'd appreciate it. But your other issue was Ashland Voices. That's also on the agenda.
Yes, thank you. So that's one of the projects that we have made a lot of progress on, and we're hoping that will be done by June, and June is just next month. But one of the wonderful things is I've mentioned that I was working on this with Joe Lessard, our former city manager, identifying and trying to empower and highlight some of our diverse businesses here in Ashland. Even having been like a diverse business owner myself, I didn't even know so many business owners exist. We know of restaurants, but there's dentists and lawyers and all kinds of people that we don't know about until, the time comes where we might need to look it up. But one of the great things that has happened is we have actually compiled that list, and that list is always growing. So we do have this living document that now is in the Southern Oregon Research Center there that has all these different businesses. So that was one of the steps. The second thing was to identify some of those business owners who we are creating a video that will show at like the previews of like Ashland Film Festival. It will also show on a monitor at the City of Ashland building and different, the website, all these different opportunities. It will be like a 30-second video version, a 2-minute version, and then I think a 5-minute version of the video. And we've identified 6 different business owners or Ashland leaders within our community of all different identities that will be part of this video. And we've already have interviewed 2 of them. We are in the process of interviewing the 3rd one. So a lot of you have given us suggestions of the different people that you know. And we're hoping that as this video wraps up and is completed, that will encourage the city of Ashland to invest every year in creating a different video with different people, and also to have this type of map that will continue to go on. And so this will be wrapped up in June and then finalized in July, and we're hoping in fall that it will be all good to go. And we are really moving quite quickly with it, and wonderfully so. And we would love for, if you would like to get involved. I'm seeing this through until July, but we really also need a person from this committee to make sure it goes forward to Gina and then Ann.
Gina? Can I say something really quick?
Yeah.
I have a question. My question is, I love this, Precious, and just thinking about the conception of this committee and then where we are now, and as people, we get new members on this committee, do we have anything in place, or would you, this body, consider putting something in place that's kind of the background of, not necessarily background of SERJ, but the things that have been accomplished and where you're going and what you want to do, so that when new members come in to SERJ, they can see what's been done and what you're doing and have a little bit more direction. That's just a thought that I have, because I think that will help people be clearer coming in as a new member. And I think that will keep the retention, keep people staying, because if you come into a new group and you're clueless, then you might remain that way. So the more information, I think, the better. And I don't know if this body considered that.
Yeah.
And wait, just let me say one thing. Okay, and then Precious, and then Ann, anybody else can fill in. What I don't want to do right now, as the chair trying to run some business item meetings that I really want to get through, is to get us completely sidetracked on the issue of retention, recruiting. And we had spoken about, so you know, Gina, we had spoken about that there's a website already that has a real lot of the information that you're talking about on the website. And before we get to the issue of how can we make that more accessible, I know Carrick was able to see a whole bunch of it. I know Ann's put a whole bunch of it on it. But I think it's a larger issue and a larger discussion. And I want to make sure that we can get through some other items tonight. Okay. That's how I feel pretty strongly as the chair prerogative. Precious, do you want to say anything about that?
I mean, I think that it's always helpful to have a place where a person that is unfamiliar with City of Ashland can easily find things. And I'm hopeful with the new website that will be something where a person doesn't have to really dig, but it will be almost like an online handbook available. Thank you.
Thank you. Ann?
So I just want to take this opportunity to congratulate Precious. This concept, this Ashland Voices, was absolutely the brainstorm, the baby that Precious imagined more than a year ago. She is the one that mapped out the goals, the intentions of what this project could be. She is the person that moved it forward with Joe Lessard. She is the one that connected with Source. So this whole thing is a stunning example of how an idea with someone behind it that has the energy and the commitment can move something forward. So Precious, this is huge what you have accomplished with this project, and many, many congratulations. It's probably the single greatest achievement within this group for you moving it forward. So thank you and congratulations.
And we are going to miss you, and we are going to do something wild and crazy at SOU to show that.
Okay, all I can say is thank you right now, or else I'm going to get emotional. Thank you, though.
Really, it's really something. Okay, so before we get to your items, Allison, I'm trying to knock off things, but I think that Anne, you need to make your announcement, and then we'll go on.
Thank you. So let's see. I have been staffing this committee for about 3 years. Some of you remember that I had retired, and then I was asked by the city to come back and staff this. It was very challenging, I would say, the first 2 years, trying to help a group of people create a brand new committee. There was no culture that was passed down, because that original committee, they were creating it themselves. And it is a lot of work, a lot of stumbling blocks. And now, probably in the past year, maybe the past 6 months, it is finally settled into, you can take a breath, and it's moving forward. So to that end, I am stepping back. I will no longer be serving as the staff liaison, and I am passing the baton into the very capable hands of Carrick Gooden. Carrick and I have been meeting regularly for a month and a half, and will continue to meet so that I can help him ultimately help you in your goals for this committee. So it's been my great pleasure, and I wish you the very best. I will be at the June meeting, and then I will finish out towards the end of June, and Carrick will be taking it on. So welcome to Carrick, and thank you all. You've all been inspirational to me, and especially enjoyed meeting you, all of you, in person. So thank you.
And I, of course, have to say how hard this is for me personally, that I'm losing, and that's how it feels to me. It feels like a loss that I'm losing Anne and I'm losing Precious, because they have been with me in this since the actual inception of the committee. I was there at pre-birth, but they've been there since birth. And particularly in terms of Anne and the skills that she brought to this committee in terms of navigating the city of Ashland. And the other thing that Anne did for me, in a way in which, honestly, because I've had other co-chairs, Precious, don't take this personally. But, and again, I think we will do something more at the meeting in May, and social meeting, because it's also our chance to say goodbye to you. But Anne and I could talk to each other in a way that was just so very helpful to me in terms of navigating the issues of not having quorums, not having people. What are we going to do? How are we going to figure out what this committee is? And Anne, I will miss it very much.
Emily, thank you so much. I agree that our conversations, I think the two of us just had to have those very frank conversations in order to move forward. And it's been great. Yeah. Sometimes Emily and I butted heads, but we always came out on the other side with what is better and best for this group as a whole. So thanks, Emily.
Yeah, I would like to add to Emily and say that Anne has been so patient in just showing the different resources and different directions and the different ways to navigate through City of Ashland and all of the things that come along with it. And I feel that these type of positions, by the time we come to the meeting, it's like summarized and polished version of ours and other stuff that has gone on all month, and for just going on all of those mental, emotional, physical rides with us, and also helping to navigate through that, which we couldn't have done without you. And I'm excited for Carrick to go on this adventure as well, and all of our committee. So it's going to be something that continues to grow, I think, in the best way. And thank you, Anne.
Thanks, Precious. It's been an honor.
So I think that Anne and I here in this love fest show the value of butting heads, and that you can have hard conversations, and that you can have different opinions.
Absolutely.
And that at the end of the day, that those conversations that are perhaps louder and butting heads and more can get you to good places.
Absolutely.
And as opposed to just shying away from differences, which I don't think that this committee should do. So with that in mind, now that we've gotten over the sad part, I don't know how quickly we'll get over it, but Precious, I think you're probably at 6. No, I have 3 more minutes of precious time. So with that in mind, I think we are up to Allison's things, because Allison also has to leave. Go.
Okay, so what do I have? Update on listening circles subcommittee. You should have copies of the minutes of our last 2 meetings. Basically, what we undertook to do is to try to meet with as many existing groups in Ashland as possible, groups that represent underrepresented groups, either the Black Students Union, the Queer Students Union at the university, the base, the whole panoply of our partners list. And we've gotten, I would say, partway through that effort of meeting with people and going to meetings and seeing what they have to tell us. We had come to the conclusion that you couldn't really jump from ground zero to listening circles and expect to achieve anything. So we're trying to get a good idea of what people think the issues are, so that if we ask people to spend their time and effort and the money wherever we get it from to do listening circles, that it will be somewhat more focused on issues that people have actually raised, people that are thinking about. I would say that we're only maybe halfway there. What do you think, John?
Well, I mean, we're at least halfway there in terms of talking to the other groups, but I see the big stumbling block as getting some funding. And we can't really do anything. We can't make anything happen without some funding. So at some point, we need to talk about approaching the council and asking them to put their money where their mouth is, so to speak, and give us the wherewithal to do the things we want to do. Because we're not going to ask for a lot of money, but we do need enough funding to make a meaningful remuneration for the people that are going to conduct these listening circles.
Well, and I think in general, based on our subcommittee meetings, we are very confused, I would say, about the possible sources of funding for anything that this committee wants to do, and how we should go about thinking about that, and what's possible, what's not possible, where should we go. I just think we're operating in the dark on things that require an investment. So that's something that we need to address. The other thing that
Wait a minute, Allison,
Sure.
Is it about listening circles, or was it about the hate speech? Great.
So
let me make sure that we're done on listening circles. I think that in terms of what you just raised at the end about the funding issues, I think that it would really be worth our while to invite somebody. And Carrick, I'm looking at you, Anne, I'm looking at you for this, for who from the city could come in and tell us, who we could invite to talk to us. I'm not even saying listening circles. I'm going with what you're saying, Allison, who could talk to us about what would the process be by which we could do funding and how we should ask for that. I know that we just went through the biennial process previously, which is when we got the money to do the DEI assessment. But I know there's a process for it. I know there's a budget committee. I know a lot of the things from the overview, but I think the granular would be pretty helpful. So I know you're leaving us, and I know, Carrick, you're coming in, but I think that would be particularly when we get new members, because look, Tara's nodding her head yes, everybody's nodding their heads yes, I'm nodding my head yes. I think that would be a very good thing to have, and I don't think that now is the moment to do it. Anne.
So I think what this committee needs to do is focus on the what over the next several months, not on the how. What is it that you need and want? Because once you have that identified and be crystal clear on what those needs are, then you can coalesce that into the how do you ask the question. But you can't ask for something until you are very, very clear about what it is you need and you want. So spend your time and effort these next several months. The next budget cycle is will start next spring in 2025. So try and get your thoughts together, and not just we really need money. We can't do anything with that money. That doesn't fly. Every single department has to present a very specific budget with specific needs and justifying those requests. And you have to do the same thing. You can't just have this fuzzy, we want money, we need money, we can't do anything with that money, because it just doesn't fly. So anyway, I would encourage you to, put your efforts towards crystallizing what those needs are and the why.
Thank you. Thank you, Anne. I really appreciate that. I know the 2025 budget cycle starts, and I just want to add in one thing, is that if we, even like when I just said about including training for religious tolerance, and I'm using your words because I think they were better, okay, for religious tolerance, the question is going to be, how much more is that going to cost? I don't know what the budget is for the training. I mean, so there's like a real lot of granular things.
But you don't need to know that. That is not, you don't need to worry about that. That's the city's job to incorporate those recommendations into the budget for the training. You don't need to focus on that. You need to focus on what the committee wants to accomplish.
Gotcha. Thank you. Gina.
If I may say something quickly, I agree with the clarity. Coming in front of council, you have to have the clarity of the what. However, I do believe you have to come in with an estimate, a cost. So if this listening circle thinks that it's going to be $1,000 or $500 or whatever it's going to be a speaker, then I believe it's up to you to say, this is our estimated cost. That's part of the crystal clear. And the cycle is 2025, the budget.
So part of being crystal clear is clearly identifying the outcomes. You have to justify, if the city's going to invest X amount of money in listening circles, you better be very clear on what the anticipated outcome is,
right,
and then what you're going to do with the outcome. So
yeah, I need to second that, Anne, because I think that's really important. I think that for listening circles right now, and I heard what you said, John, about the money. I don't think you're anywhere near that. I'm going to be really honest and really blunt. Okay. I think that what you folks are doing right now is actually, you are the listening circle. You're hearing from people already. And what really may happen at the end of this is that you've heard from people. You've said these are their concerns. You've gone to where they live, essentially. You've gone to their turf. You've heard from them. And now the question is that really what listening circles is? And I think that before we go further with what it is we want people to fund, okay, that we as a committee have to be, Anne mentioned, which is why I said I really have to agree with that, what the outcomes are, okay? But I think that we need to know why we are doing what we're doing and making sure that it is a good idea in terms of inclusivity, diversity, equity, and access. And I know that Anya is going to be talking to this in June, and trying to give us a framework, which is what we had originally asked for in terms of what do we look for projects. And I think it's really important that we all go to that in June and hear what she has to say before we take this further. And I don't think there's any more discussion on this right now because I don't think we have time. And we're gonna go now to you, Allison,
Okay.
for your other thing, because I know you have to leave.
Thank you very much. Yeah, our other assignment was, once we corrected the minutes, to find out if there are out there in the world flyers, brochures, something that we could adopt on the subject of hate speech, microaggressions, if you'll excuse the term, and how to report them, how to get help. So John, did you find anything, John?
Well, I got something from the FBI.
Okay. Well, I found, and I can, let's see, if I forward these to you, Anne, is that the way to get them out to the committee?
Yes.
Okay. I found two really useful things. The state of Oregon has created all these cute little flyers that are electronic and are designed to be posted on social media, which we could of course do, but they're lovely, full color, nice graphics. If maybe we could find a way to have those printed, if we want to put them out around town, hand them out, whatever. I will forward it to Ann, you'll all see it, but it's very nice stuff. And the other thing is the city of Eugene has developed a whole manual on dealing with that kind of thing. And it has a lot of, nitty gritty in it. And I think it may have some things for us that are very useful. Maybe we could pirate parts of that for whatever kind of flyer, poster, whatever we want to develop. But those are both things that other people have done all the work. And we could probably make use of them. I think the issues are the same. Right. I think they should work for us. So I will send those to Anne and you will all get to see them.
Great. Thank you. Allison, if you can, as soon as you leave, I'm going to lose my quorum. Okay. And there's one other.
As long as you started the meeting with a quorum, you can do anything you want.
No, we can't make a motion and pass it without a quorum under the city of Ashland's rules.
Really? Okay.
Yes, really. Right, Ann?
Right.
Okay.
Yep, and Gina just said right too. Yeah, it's not necessarily public meetings law. The Ashland has a municipal code that also says is quite different. Okay. So if you can hang in there, because Tara, we're up to the update of history in Ashland of racism. And just to sort of frame this was what Barbara Garrity had written this report. We had a meeting. Tara had agreed to do a cover letter. Tara did the cover letter. Thank you, Tara. Emily read the cover letter, sent some suggestions to Tara, along with the notion of sending it to the city council, because then we could also get it to the city council, along with a motion that went with it. So Tara, can you share your screen for what the motion's going to be and talk about this so that we can try to get this done tonight as well before Allison has to leave?
What time do you need to leave, Allison?
Oh, I can probably manage another 10 minutes.
Great.
Okay, Rare. I don't think it'll take that long.
Okay.
Was everyone able to read the document that I sent out, or Anne sent out for me? Okay, great. So effectively, this is a request to sort of deepen some of the findings that Barbara shared. I've added a sentence to it that I think is helpful. So in the third paragraph, I'll go ahead and share the screen so folks who would rather read it can do that. It's to provide a deeper contextualization for what I'm sharing in the document. And that's here in this paragraph, which is the third paragraph overall. Following, please find specific responses to parts of the research project and report. The contextualization provided here is in no way exhaustive. More research must be conducted to provide a richer and more accurate picture of experiences for historically marginalized people in the city of Ashland. So that speaks to your point that you shared with me, Emily, which was, there's obviously massive tracts of history that are not included in my responses, but it is likely that discrimination happened. For example, there is nothing in my document about how folks were treated, Japanese residents were treated during World War II. And that's something that certainly impacted folks in this area. So I'll pivot through now. So if you don't like to see rolling screens, you might want to look away for a moment. And I'm going to go to my proposal. So we're in the proposal section now. And it is so moved that we forward the Garrity report along with this letter to the City Council with these recommendations. 1, hire a historian, social worker, or other skilled professional to undertake a systemic and thorough investigation of the City of Ashland's municipal code. All aspects of historical marginalization should be researched, including religion, race and ethnicity, age, class, immigrant status, disability, gender, and sexuality. So this is the motion on which we need to vote.
Okay, this is the right. First, we need to discuss. Allison has reminded us of that very well. Does anybody need to see the entire letter during this discussion? If not, I want you to stop sharing your screen, Tara, so I can recognize people. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it. That was Tara's motion. Does anybody second it? Okay. Allison seconds it. Now we can have discussion. Okay. Does anybody have to? Anne?
I think you're limiting yourself when you just say a review of the Ashland Municipal Code. What you're wanting to do is review the practices of the organization as a whole. And that might include everything from previous minutes, going back decades, whatever it might be. But you do not want to limit the review of just the AMC. So I would adjust the motion. I would recommend that you adjust it to undertake a review of AMC, previous minutes, and other documents going back in time. Yeah, so however you want to deal with that.
Other historical documents.
Perfect.
Other historical documents.
I would accept that as a friendly amendment.
Yeah. Other historical documents are, I think, the words that you want. Okay. I think, Tara, are you good on that?
Yep.
Okay, good. All right.
When you get her.
Okay, any other discussion on the motion? Going once, going twice, going 3 times. We're going to have a vote right now.
We need
Okay.
a second?
Yeah, Allison seconded it.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So all in favor of sending this, I'm saying this in shorthand with a smile on my face. Okay. All in favor of sending yet another report that we were tasked to do to the city council right now, here in May, and we have done 2 things. Okay. Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Great. Thank you. Okay. See, we're getting you there, Allison.
Yes, thank you.
No problem. Okay. I have nothing new on the labor acknowledgement because I haven't done anything on it. And I am now up to the discussion on outreach tools to recruit new members and review of recruiting guidelines. And I know we're not going to have time to get through this at all. And I know that part of this discussion is what Gina was mentioning, and then Allison and Anne and Precious referenced that we have talked about along with Carrick about having a centralized place for people to be able to read and find out about what SERJ does, what we've done, issues in terms of what the expectations are, the meetings, all of those things. I do want to say, and I know we have now lost our quorum, but I'm going to say this, is that not only traditionally, but in actuality, with the individuals on this committee, it's very difficult to get people to read anything, especially in this new world where people do not read things on paper. So having a handbook and something to hand to people will most likely be highly duplicative and not read and very expensive at the end of the day to create for our new staff person, okay, to create a handbook for those individuals who are interested in serving on the committee. And I think that most people in the world, if they want to read something or find out about something or do something, where do we all go? We go to the internet, right? We don't go to pieces of paper anymore. And I really think that, Carrick, I know we had spoken about this somewhat in our pre-meeting, but I really think that we need to give that some time in terms of whatever is happening with the city of Ashland. And Carrick, maybe you can sort of give an update or some thought as to when you could start sort of compiling that to make that available to people who would be interested in a one-click shopping center about SERJ. Do you have any idea in reality, Carrick, how long you think that will be?
Well, I could speak to what we discussed before, and what I've noticed that Anne has done is be able to kind of already collect that on the current website. Here in May, the 22nd, we're rolling out the new website. So hopefully we're going to see how much of that can port over. And so that's still kind of wait to be seen. I'm not really involved in that at that level of what is going to port over. But, you know, as somebody new coming in, I found that myself, I was able to access a lot of what you have done on this committee, this advisory committee, right there on the website. It was all collected, the proclamations, the resolutions, kind of the history. I was able to brief myself, much like you said, by going to the internet. And Anne did a good job of curating that for us. Not all committees have that in the same way. So, you know, that's something I can advocate for as the new website rolls out, and I'm able to interface with those that are working with that. So I think we'd start there, and then we could see over time as, you know, again, you know, there's going to be some, like you mentioned, some of what you're working with is cultural, and it's this new lens that you've provided through the DEIA assessment that you he advocated for, and that's making waves in the culture here with staff. So I think moving forward, like you said, with Molly Taylor and the different ones that are involved in that cultural aspect of the city, we'll see how we can have that material available. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense to me, because I think that if a person wants to be on this committee and can't get to a website and can't look up stuff, I think that speaks volumes about their desire and what they really want to do. And that's why I said that makes sense to me. Anne, you want to say something?
So I just want to remind all of you that face-to-face, people-to-people is the strongest means of communication and passing on information. You have now all been here, Emily certainly much longer than others, but Tara's been here since last October, Barbara's been here since last spring, John and Allison since January-ish. You know more than the person who's not on the committee. So part of your job, part of passing on culture is not through the internet, but it's face-to-face and communication and conversations. So you can't rely on a repository of history because that history is static. You need to be talking about what can be, what has been, being proud of what this committee has accomplished, how to move forward. That's how you pass on the culture, and that's how you pass on the information. So yes, there are many things that this group has accomplished. There are things that you're in the midst of, but communicating that face-to-face, people-to-people is much more effective than, and I'm not saying it's not good to have a repository online with that information, but the greatest power is in you and you guys communicating that information.
Thanks, Anne. Good point. Gina, go ahead. We have another 5 minutes and then I'm calling the meeting.
I'll be quick. Is that I agree with everything that was said. I don't think having a handbook is necessary because I think people won't read it. However, Carrick, I will work with you working on our new website to make sure that information is accessible about SERJ and it's there, because Emily, you brought up the point, people don't read. So get some bullets up there about this is what you've done, this is what you're doing. And yes, you are the voice of SERJ. However, I think it's good to have both of it and have it accessible on our new website. So Carrick, I'm more than happy to help you kind of formulate that, what that might look like, and welcome on board. I think it would be, we need it all to be able to have a whole SERJ committee. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, and I think where this is going and what Anne was saying was, once again, we're going to need new members, we're going to need new leadership, and we had the recruiting guidelines approved in October of 2023, but it's going to take someone to do outreach tools and to maybe make some talking points for those outreach tools for why people should be on SERJ. Let me finish, Anne. Some of the ideas that we've talked about, but there hasn't really been any movement towards it, so nobody's done it, is to all of the people who are here were contacted through somebody else on the committee and agreed to serve. Okay, Tara, I roped you in. John was roped in by Gina, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's the right thing to do. But the problem is we have very limited personal connections. So how do we expand our connections to get new members, and new members who really want to do this, and new members who will really work? And some of the ideas are the very traditional ideas of the Rotary Club, of the Seroptimists, of the people of the UUAW, the University of Associated Women. I mean, there are people in the Unitarians have a social action group. There's a social action group in my synagogue. I know there's a social action group at the church that's on Siskiyou. I'm sorry, I don't know all the different names, the branches of Christianity. But my point in this is that requires somebody to go reach out to those people, find out how they have the Speakers Bureau, get on the Speakers Bureau, and promote SERJ. And unless we do that, we're going to die on the vine. Again, I am a blunt person, and I'm saying what's on my mind. So those are just things that I know are for a longer discussion. And I know it's 6:27, and I too have other stuff that I've got to do tonight. So I wanted to lay it out there. I know Anya's coming in June, but I don't think she's going to take the full time. So maybe I'm going to be wrong. Maybe there's going to be people who have a lot of questions. Okay. And she'll be there for the full time if she needs to. But if not, there's no meeting in July because it's the 4th of July, which brings us to August again. So I think we really need, and hopefully, I know we're going to have a social meeting in a couple of weeks, but I think that hopefully we can all sort of spend some thought on how are we going to do this? And honestly, if we are going to do this, to be really honest, because I can't do this by myself. I just can't. And that's part of the reason for why I don't have time to take on the things I said I would take on time to do. So I don't want to end the meeting as Debbie Downer, but I'd rather end the meeting as Olivia Optimist, but I'm going to need help doing it.
Yep.
And
I'm just going to throw out a few ideas. And really, sorry, it's just Tara and John now that are still here. Somebody could raise their hand. I'm not saying right now, but something to think about. Who can create talking points about SERJ? What it is, what it does, what its goals are, etc. Those talking points become the foundation of your presentation at Rotary, at Seroptimus, at whatever. Who will raise their hand and take on the task of contacting Curtis at, I'm trying to blank, Sneak Preview?
Sneak Previews. I've done that.
Okay.
I sent him an email.
Great. So just as we expect the city of Ashland to cast the net wide when it's advertising for jobs so that we can attract people who normally might not apply for those jobs, it's incumbent on the committee to cast the net wide to inform people about the work of this group. So those are just things to think about, and it's task oriented. Who will raise their hand to say, I can take this on? And then as you're casting the net, then you can get to the point of your face-to-face interactions and, inviting people to attend using the criteria, as Emily noted, that SERJ passed in October. So, or not criteria, the guidelines. So
right, the guidelines, and we did that because people were saying, well, we don't know what to say.
Right.
So that's why we did that in October of 23. And it's there, it's done. We just now need the people to do it. And like I said, I did send an email to Curtis and say, will you profile me? Essentially, it's shameless self-promotion, shameless SERJ promotion. So I think that if there are, somebody else could also do an interview with somebody at Ashland News.
Guest opinion.
Yeah.
There's so many ways to get the word out that don't require money.
Yeah.
You just have to do it.
Right. It's a time issue. It's
Yeah.
a time and energy issue. So I would like to revisit this because I feel a little bit like I'm whistling in the wind because there's only Tara and John here. But there's really not a lot else of us now. There's Allison and there's Barbara and Nita. I'm going to be real honest, and I'm naming names, and I'm sorry that this is recorded, but it is. But Nita doesn't really come. So
I was going to ask, Favor?
No, she resigned. Favor resigned. So I mean, there are not a lot of oars in the water. So to get more oars in the water, we have to recruit some boatmates.
Okay.
Okay. To be continued. Good. Anne, thank you very much again. I know I have one more meeting with you in June, so I don't have to be as sad. Carrot, welcome to the committee.
Thank you.
Gina, always a pleasure seeing you, even if you can't see me back. John, thank you for being there. And Tara, I always appreciate your smile and that you laugh at my jokes. So thank you. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good night.